So today we're going to go over proportions. So we're still kind of working with ratios. You're quiet now so we can get through this. So proportion is an equation with two equal ratios. Okay, so your ratios are equal to each other. In the proportion A to B equals C to D, where B and D are not zero, the values A and D are the extremes, and the values B and C are the means. So you're going to combine your extremes and combine your means, and those are going to be equal to each other. So to solve a proportion, we use the cross product property. So the product of the means is equal to the product of the extremes. So we have A times D equals B times C. Yep. So example 1, we have our two ratios here. 9 over 16 is equal to 27 over x. Our cross product property, we're going to multiply 16 and 27 and multiply 9 and x. Okay? So we have 9 times x is 9x. And we have 16 times 27. So we have 9x is equal to 432. To solve for x, we'll divide both sides by 9. And x does equal 48. Okay, so for some of these, they'll already give you the ratios equal to each other. You just have to cross multiply and solve. Another type of example is where you actually have to set up the ratios and set them equal. Like in example 2. Focus. Mayor Hernandez conducted a random survey of 200 voters and found that 135 approve of the job she is doing. If there are 48,000 voters in Mayor Hernandez's town, predict the total number of voters who approve the job she is doing. So you have to write and solve a proportion that compares the number of registered voters and the number of registered voters who approve of the job that the mayor is doing. So this one is done for you. So what I want you to notice in that proportion, I had 135 approve out of the random survey of 200. So 135 approve out of 200. We want to see how many approve out of the total amount, which is 48,000. Okay, so notice in the numerator on both sides of that equal sign, it's voters who approve. And in the bottom, it's all voters. Okay, so it has to line up exactly like that. So since this one is already set up for us, we can just cross multiply. So we have 135 times 48,000 and 200 times x. So I get 200x is equal to 6,480,000. Okay, then all I have to do is divide both sides by 200. And that is 32,400 voters that approve. Okay, so we can use proportions to predict after given that survey. Okay, questions? Yep. Did you finish the note sheet? You have to finish the note sheet first. Okay, so we're going to do some more examples at the bottom here. Okay, number 1. Again, all we have to do is solve this proportion, so we're going to cross multiply. So we have 18.2 times 9 and 3 times y. So we have 3y equals 9 times 18.2. So we end up with 3y is equal to 163.8. We'll divide both sides by 3. And y is 54.6. What? All right, number 2. This one you have to be careful with. So we're still cross multiplying. This x plus 22 times 10, and this x plus 2 times 30. Shh, please, stop talking. So here, I'll end up with 10 times the quantity, x plus 22. That's equal to 30 times the quantity, x plus 2. So if you have addition or subtraction in your numerator or denominator, you do need to include that whole quantity. Okay? From here, you need to distribute. Okay, so I'm going to multiply that 10 to that x and to that 22. Same thing with this 30. Multiply to the x and to that 2. So we have 10x plus 220 is equal to 30x plus 60. Now I can continue to solve for x. So I'm going to subtract 10x from both sides. Subtract 60. And divide by 20. And x should equal 8. Okay, questions on how I did that one? Okay, so again, if you have that quantity, you do need to distribute. Okay, number 3 again is just slightly different, but we'll still do the same process. So we cross multiply. So if I have 3y times y, what is that? No. If I say y times y, yes. It's 3y squared. If you multiply a variable and a variable, it becomes squared. Okay? Then I have 18.2 times 9. So we have 3y squared is equal to 163.8. What's my next step to solve for y?
You divide by 3 first, and
Yes.
then you square it.
Yes. Okay, so divide by 3 first. And then I can take the square root of both sides. Okay, when you do that, you end up with plus or minus 7.4. So when you take the square root of both sides like that, you do have to say plus and minus. Now when we were doing it before with like the Pythagorean theorem, we didn't say plus or minus because it always had to be positive because it was a length. In this case, it's not talking about a certain length, so we do have to write in plus or minus when we take the square root of both sides. Okay, I want you guys to do 4 and 5. Okay, 4 and 5 are similar to number 2. Are you done?
She's like, I would never wear those. Yeah. I saw them on your story. I just sat there like staring at them for like 2 minutes. I'm like, oh my God, there's more. I had these Crocs. I had it.
You know what, I'm gonna wear Crocs to probably clown costumes.
I was gonna do that, but I'm not gonna. I want to my fingers.
I ain't gonna wear no dress shoes. I'm wearing Crocs.
Are you going for it?
Yeah.
Anybody want to go to Perkins to get pancakes? See, I get off at 9, hit me up. 9 o'clock at night. I want pancakes like 3:08. I don't know.
I'll go with you.
What good ideas, Grandma?
Probably. My grandma's like,
All right.
Okay.
So
I can't believe you done this.
4 and 5 are on the board.
Kind of right.
Number 4, you should get 3.5. And 5, you should get -7.
Wait. Oh, I did it. Yeah, you did it. Yeah.
Figured out, Sheila. All right, any questions on 4 or 5? Okay, then flip it over to the back. Okay, so these 2 problems are where we're going to set up our equal ratios in order to solve the proportion. So in number 6, it says if 3 DVDs cost $44.85 Then we want to find the cost of one DVD. So I can set up a ratio with 3 and 44.85. So there are 3 DVDs.
3 over 1. 34.
So I have 3 DVDs for 44.85. What do I want to find?
Cost of 1.
I want to find the cost of 1. So since my cost is on the bottom right here, it needs to be on the bottom in my second ratio as well. Okay, and that's what I'm looking for, so I'm just going to use X as my variable. And I'm looking for one DVD, so I need 1 in the numerator.
Why don't you just take the number and divide it by 3?
Because I want to set up the proportion. But yes, that's what you do. But that doesn't always work for like the next one that we're going to do. So from here, again, these are your number of DVDs. Okay? And this one is your cost. Okay, and it has to line up. Now I can cross multiply. So I have 3 times X. And 1 times 44.85. And yes, I can just divide by 3.
14.95.
So the cost of one DVD is $14.95.
Oh, they're expensive. I get my movies from Walmart and they're like $1.
So I used to get movies anyways. Like, they got Netflix included now and stuff.
Because my parents are
Alright.
whiny.
Guys, I really want to get through this so you can work on your assignment. Okay, next, number 7. Okay, Brian, I think is what it meant to say, is measuring
That's Brianna.
is measuring plants in a field for a science project. Of the first 25 plants he measures, 15 of them are smaller than a foot in height. If there are 4,000 plants in the field, predict the total number of plants smaller than a foot in height. So again, we need to set up 2 different ratios that are equal. My first ratio, he looked at 25 plants and 15 were smaller than a foot. So I can say 15 of my plants out of the 25 are smaller than a foot. You can switch it up.
I could have kept it on.
What? What?
No, why did I just
We use this? Oh, no, you don't have to reduce it. Okay, so here's my first ratio. Now again, this 15 is your smaller than a foot plants.
2400.
Okay, and the 25 was the total. So I need to set up a ratio similar to that one. Well, it says there's a total of 4,000 plants in the field. So is that going to go in the numerator or the denominator? In the denominator. And I want to predict the total number smaller than a foot. And since I'm predicting it, that's my variable. Now if you set it up as 25 over 15, you'd say 4,000 over x then. And that would still get you the same answer. Okay, so you could set it up either way. So from here, again, we're just going to cross multiply. So we have 60,000 is equal to 25x. Divide by 25.
Circle it.
So we have 2,400. Plants that are smaller than a foot.
Put on a story. Huh? Right. Put on a story.
Alright. Get started on your assignment, please.
Oh my god.
You guys can. No. Skip number 11. We're going to go over that in class tomorrow. Number 11, we're going to go over in class tomorrow, so skip that one.
How about number 12 a.m.?
No.
How about 1 through